welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Well, welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on your hometown station, AM and FM KHTS. It's taken me a while to learn that, but it's really cool. 98.1 now. So now you get a double dose of Don and Gino now. Celebrating, that's right, this weekend we're celebrating our 7th year being on your hometown station. And our whole goal from day one is to be a resource for you, to guide you to personal and financial wellness. And we do that by doing our best homework, but also aligning ourselves with the best people we can find in various areas of your life, whether that's a trust attorney, a divorce attorney, financial planner, college planner, in-home caregiver, helping you deal with our aging population, dealing with your parents aging. Anything you need, we put together in one group called America's Professional Resource Group. That's aprgi.com. aprgi.com is an incredible group of real professionals accountable to us, accountable to you, accountable to Santa Clarita, and everyone's experience, and everybody's amazing. We've been sharing each other's information now for years and years because they are the best, and we have brought one of the best on our show for probably like this, 15th or 16th time, Mr. Myles McNamara with Comfort Keepers in Home Care, who has his own radio show, but fortunately he takes time out of his day to share with you what you really need to know about how to handle a very challenging situation. And this segment of the show is probably, I think, one of the most challenging, is how to have that conversation when you feel it needs to happen, or prepare for it in any way of, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, or both. I think you might need some assistance one way, or it could be due to an injury, it could be due to health issues, it could be due to medical issues, whatever it is, or it's just aging, plain and simple. Right. I love now you've given me a lot better script to help them, because it's legit. I would, if to hire somebody to help my parents, it's legit. I feel I would not have that conversation, for one, unless I felt it was really necessary. But to tell them that they need home care, meaning you're telling them they're like a child. I love that realistically what in Comfort Keepers in Home Care is, you're hiring them a personal assistant. That changes the whole ball game, because I would much better go, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, I'm hiring you a personal assistant. Just help you with whatever you need, because I can't be there as much as I'd love to be. I'm super busy, but I love you, and I'm going to give you a personal assistant. We're going to help you with that. How about that?
Print.
Boom.
That's it.
But it's so much better.
Yeah.
Because really you guys do that. Whether it's not just meds, it's not just helping them shower, it's not just carrying them, it's also, hey, companionship, it's taking them to the store, it's so many things. And that's why I love having you on the show, because I guarantee a lot of you out there, a lot of us are dealing with this situation, and we're wondering how to handle that. And that's why you've grown 40% in the last year, is because you're the guys. You're the ones who have 17 years experience. You train. I've seen your training facility. I mean, we had this on this live. Your skills lab. You hire nothing but nurses. You guys are the real deal.
Right.
And how can they get a hold of you? Because I really trust in what you guys do.
Just quick correction. My care managers are nurses, but we are non-medical, so my caregivers are not all nurses.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I do have some retired nurses and such, but bottom line is we're non-medical, so we cannot perform anything medical in the home. And contact me. I mean, I'm right here on Lyons Avenue. I also have an office in Encino, and you can just go to comfortkeepers.com or seniorcaresantaclarita.com, or if you've got a pen, and 661-287-4200. But what you just said was perfect, Don, and let me preface it by saying there is no silver bullet. I mean, the dynamics of every family is obviously different, but to go in and tell your parent that they need a caregiver versus going in and saying, I'm going to get you a personal assistant because I can't be here as much as I want to. I mean, there's a lot of different verbiage that we've learned throughout the years that works better. I can't guarantee everybody, as I said, it's a silver bullet, and it's definitely going to work because every family dynamic is different. One thing I always urge folks to do is look down the road and try to have this conversation before maybe it's necessary,
right? And
ask your parents, how do they see this journey progressing, and maybe involving a personal assistant at that point in time. and a lot of times just admitting to our parents that this is as much for us as it is for you, you know. And again, like I said, every dynamic's different. I've seen where a lot of times the parents will be resistant because in their eyes they're not going to see their kids as often because they always came over and did these things for them. So now if they get a personal assistant even, they're not going to see their kids as often. So a lot of times I see them fight it on that level. But again,
actually, I'd put a different twist on that for sure. I'd say, hey, because I'm hiring you a personal assistant, now our time's quality time.
You hit it on the head, and that's it. Be the you know, the son or the daughter again, and let us be the personal assistant or
I had that with
caregiver.
my spouse. I hired a person to clean the house, and she's like, "What? You don't think I can clean the house enough?" I'm like, "No, I don't want you spending an entire Saturday when I work all during the week cleaning the house. I'd rather spend quality time with you." And it's the same thing with your parents. Hey, let them help you with all that stuff. You and I will go do something else.
Right.
And go to a sporting event, have a beer, or just chill.
Right. And if your approach is such, and when there is resistance, and I see it all the time, more often than not, that once we do start, they become very attached to our comfort keeper. They become friends. You know, our comfort keepers love it because, as they've said in the past, it's like having, you know, a multitude sets of grandparents because they get to go in and be with, you know, a lot of different clients. But I see our clients get attached to our caregiver, and that becomes the highlight of their day, you know, because if it is more than just the companionship or the interaction back into society, but the help around the house, and there's a bond that happens there. So as I said, every situation is different, and as our folks maybe start to deteriorate cognitively, and that slippery slope I mentioned before the last break is that we can't always allow our parents to have that last word anymore because now they're not possibly making the best decisions in their life. That's where it becomes the slipperiest, because if they want to stay in their own home, if they want to do the things that they want, you know, and you know, ask for the aid of the physicians. You know, the doctors, you know, are still carry a lot of weight with our seniors. Baby boomers, not so much. We Google everything, and we challenge everything, but our seniors still put a lot of stock into what their doctors say. And so, you know, get the aid of whoever you can, but again, still approach it with dignity. Personal assistant, it helps you as much as it helps them, but at some point in time, understand that if their safety's at risk, you can't just say, well, dad won't take it, so I'm not going to do it.
Well, and sometimes, I mean, obviously you have to have that discussion. I love the point that you said it's best to have it before you can't have it, because it happens. You know, medical issues happen to where they're not as cognitive as they were, and to have that conversation later might not work out as well.
Especially when you've had an incident where you're being discharged from the hospital, and the discharge planner or the doctor walks in and says, you know what, Don, we're releasing your dad today, but he can't go home without home care. And again, not knowing what we don't know, a lot of times you're going to go, huh?
Right.
And you're going to think, well, is that home health again that we talked about earlier, where the nurse comes in for 30 minutes or so and then jets? Or what's home care? And now you're thrust into a world you've never heard of before.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, I didn't realize there were so many darn silver cars on the road till I bought one.
Right,
now every
exactly.
dang car is silver. I'm like, what am I? But so again, when you're being discharged from the hospital, and we do that a lot with our discharge planners, is we get that transition to home. The hospital doesn't want readmissions where they're bouncing back into the hospital within the first 24 to 72 hours. So getting them home, getting them situated, making sure they're taking their meds, making sure they're doing their follow-up doctor's appointments and all that kind of thing. But if it's not as an incident of a stroke or a broken hip or whatever, have that conversation before it becomes mandatory. Say, Mom, Dad, I know you're going to want to stay in your own home down the road. We see a lot of people get personal assistance to make that happen. You know, and so let's chart that out so none of us are having to make, you know, impromptu snap decisions.
You mentioned that the hospitals are changing about the way they envision home care when they're like you said, letting somebody leave at that point. That the Kaiser and AARP are now kind of proponents of in-home care.
Oh, absolutely, and we have a partnership. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or the next
real
segment
quick.
or whatever.
Yeah, we got a little bit, because I think this is important that you were involved. What's nice is, they rely on Comfort Keepers as one of their resources.
Right. Well, Kaiser Permanente obviously has a huge footprint out here in Santa Clarita, but as well as the Southwest, and we've actually become their what they call preferred vetted vendor, which is huge for us.
Congrats.
Because that means they've taken a multitude of time, years, to look at all the different home care companies out there, and they've chosen Comfort Keepers because of our delivery of service. Kaiser is big on data collection and follow-up, and where Kaiser actually, I think, is really being groundbreaking in that they are actually starting to pay for some home care when someone's discharged from the hospital, because they understand the value of that first 24 to 72 hours upon discharge. And they're the first that who's ever stepped in and said, you know what, we've done the proper analysis, we see where the need is, and they are actually starting to pay for home care, which is huge.
Yeah.
And for us to be their preferred vetted vendor, love it.
Of course, but you've earned that. You've earned that.
But also with AARP, they don't provide health care or anything, but they are, as we know, the American Association of Retired Persons, and they have now vetted Comfort Keepers that we're going to be on their website, and we're going to be recommended by AARP as their vetted preferred vendor as well, which I'm really proud of, because it's, there are, so you mentioned at the top of the show that in your industry as well, there's schlock agencies out there, and we actually became licensed a couple of years ago, and there's still agencies out there that are non-licensed, operating illegally, bringing that price point down, because unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, most home care is all private pay unless you have long-term care insurance. And so we have to report these agencies, but it's a process. First we have to identify them and say, well, they're not even licensed as what they call a home care organization or an HCO. So if you're looking for a home care, call Comfort Keepers first. But if you are in the market, and if you're looking, if you're listening to this as the podcast from states away, is make sure that they're licensed. Each state is different, of course, but make sure you ask them for their license number if state licensure is in place.
So how can they find you? Because we already know you're licensed and doing a heck of a job, and others feel you're doing a great job.
Well, I've got two offices. I have the Santa Clarita office, and I have an office in Encino. But if you go to comfortkeepers.com, you can punch in the zip code where you need service, and that'll bring up the nearest office. If not mine, we have Comfort Keepers throughout the land. But right here in Santa Clarita, obviously, I cover the entire Santa Clarita Valley and out to Acton and Palmdale. And we also have a microsite, seniorcaresantaclarita.com, where I have a lot of YouTube videos that answers a lot of frequently asked questions, or just give me a call. First, I said our nurse care manager comes out to do an initial assessment. There's no charge for that. There's no obligation. So if you think that home care may be in your near future, if not your immediate future, give us a call. We'll come out, we'll sit, we'll answer more questions, talk about that care plan I mentioned, and see what best fits your needs, and customize a care plan at the peak times of the day, week, or, you need help. But, start thinking about it, folks, because ain't none of us getting out of this alive, number one. And we will all need a caregiver at some point in our life. We'll all age. Everybody gets car insurance and house insurance, and the odds of those, catastrophes happen are low. But the percentage of us getting older and needing a helping hand is 100%.
Well said. Again, Myles McNamara with Comfort Keepers in-home care, located right on Lyons Avenue. Phone number 661-287-4440.
That's my fax number. Our main number is 4200.
Thank you. 287-4200. You want to fax them something? Go ahead. 661-287-4200. Thank you, Myles, for being part of our show, and thanks for being a great guest of ours now for 7 years.
My pleasure, and happy anniversary.
All right, stay tuned. We got a great second half of the show. Going to share with you what's really happening in the markets these days, and what does business planning do for you when we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show.